year, and acupuncturists, can do that. There's people who can do that. But if we look at some of the key stats in the book, Joe, they were quite shocking, really. Some of the findings that you discovered were 70% of workers, and I know a lot of the research was in America, but I don't think the stats would be too different this side of the world, think that they aren't good at their jobs, that they aren't passionate about their jobs, and that they don't believe their work is about something bigger than themselves. Now, it was quite obvious that those numbers kind of lit a fire in you and kind of drove you on to kind of almost like a call to arms. But how did you react when you came across those stats? Was it something that you intuitively know and you wanted to do something about, or what was it as alarming as it was for me when I read them?
I mean, that was one of the reasons we decided to start Shift. The first few Gallup polls were done back, I think the original one was done in 2000 and then right after 9/11. And what was jarring to me was that there was no difference. So think about what I just said. So before 9/11 and then after 9/11, and then we got to the Great Recession, no difference. I mean, marginal percentage points, but nothing that was wholesale different. Then we fast forward to, the pandemic. We fast forward to this other recession that we're probably about to head into. And so what's interesting to me is we're all walking around, and think about another quick stat on the personal side, average life expectancy just kind of dropped over the last year or two, and no one's going, hey, is this the way we should be doing this? And for me, again, it's a bit of an intuition, which is if you're forcing people to do something they don't want to do, it does not sound like they're going to do it well. And I think, the best analogy I can think of in this moment is kids. If you have your own kids, you watch them with a different level of intensity because you have ownership, back to the hard part, right? They're my kids. I love on those kids. But then when I'm watching the neighbor's kids, no offense to the neighbor's kids, of course I'm going to make sure they're okay. But am I going to stand in traffic for these kids? Likely, but I'm going to think about it first, right? Yeah. And so I think that stutters.
A bit more annoying than your own kids.
Yeah, and look, I do think hitting on that point for 1 second, that's actually part of the problem we have in the whole world here, is that we're treating each other not like brothers and sisters, not like our lineage. We can say that for another podcast, but for me, getting back to the piece of it, which is how many business owners want their team to care more about the business? All of them. How many executives in big corporate America, environments would like their team to take more responsibility and more accountability? Well, I mean, it's sort of this weird, chicken or egg. Well, I can't give them more accountability because they're not being accountable. And at the same time, we're sort of in this weird loop where we're just going over and over and over again, and we're not getting much further, to me, unless you change the way we're thinking about this. And I think you're starting to see this because of the pandemic, that people are going, I'm going to vote with my feet, right? The Great Resignation. You've got some folks going, hey, I'm actually better at my job in different ways, so work doesn't have to be a place anymore. And I think ultimately we'll see. But, if you rewind and you go through just how long change happens, I mean, I think we're in the first quarter of a long, whether soccer match or football match, depending on your sport, on how this is going to unfold. Because, I mean, we just got out of the pandemic here, folks. This just happened. So now everybody's trying to normalize how many days a week and what we're doing. And I think in a lot of respects, some good companies are doing an amazing job of almost starting from scratch. They're going, all right, let's just go back to the land of zero in this. Let's build it up, first principle, what makes the most sense. And, instead of just doing what was done to you.